How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to the College Football Podcast on Tuesday, June 4th. Today's show is loaded. We're going over my ACC, Big Ten, and AAC win total predictions for the 2024 season. Just a little note, you will not be getting scheduled predictions in this video. This is strictly win totals. I'm doing team previews starting this week on Thursday. And that is when you will get your schedule predictions with wins and losses. Okay, we're not at nest. Hold up. We're going to start in the Big Ten. 2 seconds left. These. Got one of my headphones. Okay, here we go. So in the Big Ten, my first win total prediction is Ohio State. Their win total is set at 10.5. I think they're going to go over that win total this year and win, preferably, I'm going to say 11 games. Now, there is a punishment out for if I get a win total wrong. Y'all chose that I have to buy a Michigan shirt or go to the big house for a Michigan football game in 2026. Yes, you heard right. If I get a win total wrong, that books my ticket to Ann Arbor in 2026 for a Michigan football game. Again, Ohio State, 10.5 wins. 10.5 is their win total. I think they're going to go over that and win 11 games. Next, we've got Oregon. They're also set at 10.5 wins. Oregon's another team in the Big Ten this year that is loaded, and I can see them going over that win total and winning 11 games, with maybe their only loss being to Ohio State. Next team is Penn State. 9.5 is their win total. I think they go over that win total and win 10 games. I think they finally get over the hump since they have to play Ohio State. Since they don't have to play Michigan and Ohio State, and they only have to play Ohio State this year. I think Penn State goes over that win total. Speaking of Michigan fans are not going to be pleased with me on my win total prediction for Michigan this year. Their win total is set at a whopping 9. Their win total is set at 9.5. I think Michigan, and I'm going to explain why right now. I think Michigan will win less than 9 games, so I have the under. And it's 2 big reasons. One, it is the first year under new head coach Sharon Moore. And I need to see what Michigan's going to look like under Sharon Moore. And they lost a lot on offense and a little bit on defense, and they lost some transfers. But they did get some guys in the portal, but I still see them winning under 9 games. And for me, their win total set at 7 or 8 games. Next is USC. Their win total is set at 7.5. And this is one of the one of the few ones today where you will see that I have a push / under, which means I think the push is they win exactly 7 games. Under would mean they win between six games, and the push is they win exactly 7. Next is Rutgers. Their win total happens to be set at a whopping 6.5. I think they're going to win over 6 games, and I expect them to win 8 to 9 games this year. Again, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is strictly win total based. If you agree or disagree, put it down below in the comments. I will have full record predictions for when I do these team preview. But like Rutgers, like I just said, 6.5 is their win total. I think they're going to win over 6.5 games. 6 games. Next is Wisconsin, and they're also set at 6.5 wins. Over under 6.5. I think they win over 6.5 games. Which for me, I think Wisconsin's in the same boat as Rutgers. Minus, I think Wisconsin can win 7 or 8 games this year in their second year under Luke Fickell. And I like what Wisconsin did at quarterback. They brought in a new quarterback, and I think Wisconsin's going to be a lot better this year. Unfortunately, Maryland fans, I think it's going to be the same fate for you. I don't think you're going to like the way your win total is set at 6.5. I have you going under 6 wins. And I think you're going to win between 4 to 5 games. And Mike Locksley might get fired. Might. Because you have a QB competition between Billy Edwards and a couple other guys. I think Billy Edwards is going to end up winning that QB competition. But I still think y'all are going to struggle if you look at your schedule this year. Next, we've got Washington. And I'm surprised their win total is only 7.5. It doesn't make, how do I put this? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me why the odds makers aren't on the side of Jed Fish and Will Rogers. I think Washington wins over 7 games this year. And I project them to win between 8 and 9 games. Next, we have Northwestern. They're set at 5.5 wins, which I think is generous. I think it should be higher than 5.5. I think they should be around that 6 or 7 range. But I don't know who makes these. They must have thought, oh, Northwestern's still going to be bad. I think Northwestern wins over 5 games. And for me, their expected win total for me is either 6 or 7 wins. Next, we've got Indiana in their first year under new head coach Kirk Cignetti. Their win total is set at a whopping 5.5 wins. Unfortunately, Indiana fans, it's going to be a rebuilding process, and I think you're gonna like the results you see at the end of this rebuild, year 2 or 3. But to start, I think you're going to win under 5 games this year. And your win total for me, it's still reasonable for a guy in his first year as the head coach at Indiana. 3 to 4 wins for Indiana this year. Next, we've got Illinois. 5.5 is their win total. I don't think they reach that. I think they go under 5 wins. 3 to 4 wins for Illinois. And the reason I say that is because they have one of the tougher schedules in the Big Ten. And the hot seat for Brett Bielema is, as we speak, is getting hotter. It is heating up as we speak. And I think if Illinois starts off real bad, they get rid of Brett Bielema. Next, we've got UCLA. They're set at 5.5 wins as well. And they have a new head coach as well. But I think it's DeAndre Foster is their new head coach. I like that hire for UCLA because he was originally a UCLA Bruin. And then he got into coaching, and he was a defense coordinator for a couple teams. But I like this for UCLA. Over 5.5 wins. I have them projected to win 6 to 7 games this year. Next is Minnesota. And PJ Fleck is another guy to watch for that might get fired during the season. I think Minnesota's going to win under 5 games this year. And I know it's not just, but I don't expect a lot from PJ Fleck with a new quarterback. I think they're going to win 3 or 4 games this year. Next is Iowa. And if we know anything about Iowa, it is they have a really good defense. Their offense is always trash. And their win total, and I'm disgusted by their win total. It's 7.5. I don't think they get 7 wins. I'm taking the under with authority on Iowa. And I think Iowa is going to win 5 or 6 games this year. Next is Nebraska. And this is my sleeper team in the Big Ten. Watch out for Nebraska. Their win total is set at 7.5. Which I know Nebraska finished off last season really good, but I think their win total needs to be around that 8 or 9 range. I think 7.5. I think 7.5 is too low. That's why I like the over. And I think they win 8 to 9 games this year in the Big Ten. Purdue is next, and their win total is set at a dreadful 4.5. I think Purdue does win over 4 games in Ryan Walter's second year. Purdue, for me, I could see them winning 5 or 6 games. Michigan State's next. And their win total set at 5.5. I think Michigan State is easily going to win over 5 games. And Jonathan Smith's first year. Look at what Jonathan Smith did with Oregon State. They got better every year they got better every season. I see them winning 6 to 7 games this year in the Big Ten. We already did Michigan. Now we get to the ACC, and there's some interesting win totals here in the ACC. We're going to start at the top with Clemson. For me, Clemson, I don't know where to put them. Their win total is 9.5. And I kept trying to choose between over or under. I ended up going over. And I expect them to win between at least 10 games this year. Number 2, Florida State. Their win total is also set at 9.5. And I think Florida State's going to win more than 9 games. I know what y'all are going to say in the comments. What about DJU? What's your stance on DJ Ugalele? DJU, to me, I feel like he wasn't meant to be at Clemson, and he wasn't meant to be at Oregon State. I feel like Florida State's the perfect spot for him because, one, He's going to get to throw the ball a lot to some good wide receivers and a couple of good running backs. And I think Florida State wins 10 games this year to tie with Clemson. Number 3 in the ACC for me, for win totals, is Miami, Florida. They're set at 9.5 wins as well, which to me is generous. I would have put them down around 8.5, but I do think they win over 8 games. I think their win total for me, their projected estimated wins is 9. There's a lot of games on their schedule that are little, like if you look at week 1, they play at Florida. And the spread's already out for that, and they're a 3.5 point favorite. So, and I think that's being generous, but then again, I could be wrong. And just a little heads up for that week 1, they may be on the board for a cover pick in week 1 of college football. My next is Louisville. Their win total is set at 8.5. I think they will go over that win total and win 9 games. I like what Jeff Brom has done. And I will take the blame for not putting him as my coach of the year last year for college football. That's not going to happen again. And it shouldn't happen again because it won't. Next is NC State. Their win total is set at 8.5. I think they go over that, and I think they get 9 wins. I like what NC State brought over Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina. I like that move for NC State. I think it's going to unlock the offense. Grayson McCall was a really good quarterback at Coastal. I like what I've seen from Grayson McCall time at Coastal. I think he's going to do even better at North Carolina State. My next win total is North Carolina. So the rivals of North Carolina State. Their win total is set at 7.5. And this is the post. I want you to take into account the fact that this is the post Drake May era. Their 7.5 is their win total. I don't think they win more than 7 games. I think they win less than 7 games, maybe 6. I think they won exactly 6 games. SMU is next. They're set at 7.5 wins as well. I think they go over that win total. Over 7.5 wins for SMU. Preston Stone coming back. I think SMU will win more than 7 games. Next is Syracuse. And I'm going to say this. I like what Fran Brown did in the portal. He got Kyle McCord from Ohio State. And he got a bunch of other transfers. And their win total is 7.5. I think they win more than 7 games this year. I think they win 8 games. Maybe even 9, including a bowl game. Next is Virginia Tech. And I want to stay in the good spirits of Virginia Tech fans because that is where I'm going September 5th through the 9th. I don't want to be on their bad side. Virginia Tech's win total is set at 7.5. And I think they do win over 7 games. I think they win 8 or 9. Again, the punishment here is is if I get a win total wrong, 2026, I have to attend a Michigan football game. And that's going to pain me as an Ohio State fan. So if y'all want to see that pain and torture, please, I beg you, please tell these teams not to get their win total, not to hit their win totals. Because if they do, you won't see that punishment. If they don't, you will see that punishment. And it's going to be torture and agony for me. And I'm going to add something on top of it. I have to go to the big house in Michigan, buy Michigan gear, wear it. And anybody I see in Ann Arbor, if that's where I end up going in 2026, because I lost this punishment bet, I have to tell them Michigan's better than Ohio State. But back to the video. Cal is next, and there's a lot of people out there that are saying their win total set at 6.5. There's a lot of bettors out there saying that Cal's going to win over 6 games. I don't. The amount of travel they have to do across the country to come to Florida, to go to North Carolina, to go to Georgia, I don't see how they win more than 6 games. Duke is next on the list. Their win total is set at a whopping 6.5. And this is the first year under new head coach Manny Diaz. Defensive-minded head coach. I don't think they win more than 6 games. I think they win less than 6 games, or it's a push, which means they're exactly at 6 wins. And maybe they do win a bowl game and I get it wrong. We'll just have to see. Next is Georgia Tech. Their win total is set at 5.5. But I think Georgia Tech will win over 5 games this year. I just have a sneaky hunch that they will win more than 5 games. Next is Pittsburgh. And their win total set at 5.5. And I couldn't really make a decision whether I was going to go over or under win total. So I said push, which means they could win more than 5 games, or they could win less. So it's right in the middle. Next is Boston College. Their win total set at 5.5. And I know I talked about it when I did the ACC and the Big Ten post-spring, how I do think Bill O'Brien's on the hot seat. But I might circle back around to that later on in a future episode of the pod. But I think Boston College either pushes or goes over that win total of 5.5. There's 2 avenues here. 1, they do win more than 5 games, or 2, they win less, or they win exactly that number in O'Brien's first year and he does not get canned. Next win total I'm going to go over is University of Virginia. And their win total is set at a whopping 4.5. I think Tony Elliott might be the first coach that gets fired this year. And for that reason, Virginia, I have you going under your win total of 4.5. I think you only win 3 games this year, maybe 2 if you're lucky. And then, unfortunately, the last team in the ACC that I'm giving a win total prediction Forest. And their win total prediction. Oh, wait, we got Stanford too. But their win total is set at a whopping 4.5 for Wake Forest. I think they go under that win total and win less than 4 games. And the last team in the ACC that I'm giving you a win total prediction for is Stanford. And theirs is set at a disappointing 3.5. And I think they go under that and win 2 games in their first year in the ACC. Now we get to the last win projection, and that is the AAC win totals. We're starting off with Memphis. They're at 9.5. And I just think somehow that's way too high for them. Way too high. Way too many wins for them. But I still think they go over their win total of 9.5 and win 10 games. Next is UTSA, who is set at 8.5 wins. I think they also go over their win total of 8.5. And they win. I think Memphis is going to win 10 games. I think UTSA wins 9 games. Next is Tulane, and their win total set at 7.5. This is the most post Michael Pratt era. I think they go over 7 wins and win 8 games. South Florida's next. And you will be getting a team preview of South Florida and Texas on Thursday at noon. That's when I will give you full roster breakdowns of both of those teams and record prediction for both those teams. But I think USF's win total is set at 7.5. And I'm sorry to the odds makers that are making this. That's horrific. They should be higher. They should be at 8 wins. I think they win more than 7 games this year. I think they win 8 or 9 games. Next is UAB, and their win total is set at a whopping 6.5. And I think they go over that win total of 6.5 and win 7 or 8 games. If they win 7, that means they make a bowl game, but they probably lose the bowl game. Rice is next, and their win total is 6.5. Measly 6.5 wins, but I think they win less than 6 games. The operative word there being less. Next, we've got Florida Atlantic, and their win total is set at 6.5 as well. And I think Florida Atlantic wins over 6 games. I think they win 7 games. I skipped ECU. Let me go back to East Carolina. Their win total is also 6.5, but I think they win less than 6 games. And I think Mike Houston is the first American athletic coach to get fired. And then you've got Army. Their win total is set at 6.5. A lot of teams in the AAC was a projected win total of 6.5 wins. I think Army wins 7 games this year. So that would be over their win total. Navy's next. They're set at 5.5 wins. I don't think they win more than 5 games. It's a building process for Brian Newberry, the new head coach at Navy. They did good last year, but I think they're going to take a small step backwards in terms of their wins. North Texas is next, and their win total is set at a whopping 5.5. And I have them going under/push, which again, the under would be 4 wins, push would be exactly 5. And I'd love to see them win more. I just don't think it's going to happen. UC Charlotte is next. University of Charlotte, North Carolina. UNC Charlotte is next. And their win total set at 3.5. I don't see them winning more than 3 games. So I have them going under 3 wins. And the last one is Temple. Their win total is set at a measly 2.5. And I don't see Temple winning more than 2 games this year. I will be having another podcast episode of the College Football Podcast tonight at 10 p.m. And it'll be kind of the same like this, but it'll be a little bit longer because we have the post-spring sticking points for the SEC and the Big 12, as well as win total predictions for that. But if you've been enjoying this video, please consider subscribing to this channel, turning on notifications so you don't miss any future uploads, as well as consider joining the College Football Podcast / Sports Talk Podcast YouTube channel with a membership or by buying merch. And on that note, September 5th through the 9th, this podcast will be in Blacksburg, Virginia, as I said earlier, for Virginia Tech Marshall Week. And I will be live streaming all 4 days that I am in Blacksburg. Those streams will probably be starting right after lunchtime. And the game day vlog will be at 12:30 because the game does not start till 4:30. So on the day of the game, on the day of the Marshall Virginia Tech football game, make sure to have notifications on so you don't miss the video at 12:30. But like I said, all 4 days I'm there, I will be streaming. I have community poll tabs, community tabs up with what do y'all want the permanent intro to be for the podcast, and a few other polls. Check them out, give them a watch. And always leave your thoughts and comments down in the comment section of what I can do to make the podcast better. I appreciate the input of everybody that comments. And follow me on my social medias. My Instagram is AlecThomasPecado24. Twitter is Sports Talk Podcast. So same as the YouTube channel. Patreon is linked down below in the About Me part of my YouTube. Go give that, come on over and join the Patreon. You get the same content on Patreon as you do here, but you also get my rankings for college football, fantasy baseball, and I will be posting my college football rankings on the community tab when week 1 starts. Preseason rankings will be out on the preseason show. But, ladies and gentlemen, until the next video, I will see you when I see you. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday, your Tuesday afternoon. Peace!